Welcome back. This is Breakfast Daily on Citi TV. Thank you so much for being with us. Now it's Wednesday, so we're going to talk about consumer and technology. And we have Philip Ashon here, who is the host of Citi Trends and head of production here at Citi TV. Good morning, Philip.
Well, good morning, Dziffa.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. It's been a good week.
Good. So today we're talking about technology and the hotel industry.
Yes, I had wanted to look at generally the hospitality industry.
Okay.
But I honed in on the hotel industry because, there's this difficulty with quite a number of people who visit hotels. They're looking for a certain experience. And there's this perception that we all have about hotels. You have these sorts of services that you're supposed to be given that are out of this world. And I was in London a couple of weeks ago, and I was at a hotel, and I was rather intrigued about how they were fusing technology into the services that they provided. And so I did a quick video about it, especially with the hotel owner, just to talk to her about how she incorporates technology into the services that they provide, and then also trying to understand where the future of hoteling is, because with all this new technology coming, for example, if you have a software that manages the bookings where people can, for example, book online and things like that, and when they walk in, they can just swipe a card and then they can just go up to their rooms and things like that. What exactly is the position, for example, of the average hotel worker? Like, would they have a job in 5 years, for example? And walking that fine line between the traditional sense of what a hotel is and the modern sense of what a hotel is, just sort of makes you just wonder. And there were some pretty interesting things. Now, before we watch the video, I just want to touch on some of the pretty interesting things that the hotel owner mentioned.
So what did you learn? Yes.
One of them was the fact that you should try not to be too gimmicky with the technology that you use, because people just see something and they just want to implement it just because it's brand new and it looks all fancy and things like that. If it doesn't integrate into the lives of the guests in the hotel or in the facility that you have, you've really lost the plot.
So it should be relevant to the needs of your guests.
Of the guests. And that was one of the biggest lessons that I picked up. The second thing, and we'll watch it in the video, is when the hotel owner talks about connecting with startups, connecting with people who are trying new things, not necessarily directly incorporating into the business, but then working with them to understand what's new, trying to understand what they are doing, trying to understand what's on the horizon. And then for you as a business owner, picking out those little details and then figuring out how those things can feed into the experience of your guests. I thought that was pretty important, because some people, turn a blinder eye to all forms of tech. Oh, it's going to cost us too much. You go to some hotels, they don't even do Visa, they don't do mobile money and things like that. I just felt very interested in the fact that someone who operates an international hotel looks at startups, small companies who are trying to do new things, and then incorporates the sort of work that they are doing into what they do. It's not wholesale, but it's selected, and I think that being open to some of them is also very important.
Okay, so I think the hotel tech video is ready.
Brilliant. So let's take it. So this is the hotel that I visited on my trip to London, and it's just very interesting how they incorporate technology into the work they do. Let's check it out.
Okay.
My name is Olivia Byrne. I am the director of Eccleston Square Hotel in London. We opened in 2011, so I've been director of this establishment for over 7 years now. So when we first opened, we were already quite high-tech. We did it not very intentionally. As a family, we do embrace technology. We think that it can really enhance guest experience. So when we first opened, we already had iPads and 3D TVs and electronically adjustable beds, which was very advanced back in 2011. So we were nominated as the most high-tech hotel in Europe. And we decided to continue this trend. So we are updating our TVs again this year. We're putting smart TVs in every room with 4K Chromecast. So it means that you can watch your 4K content on your Netflix on the screen in the TV. We've put mobile phones in the rooms, which offer free international phone calls and free internet. So again, it's just enhancing guest experience, making it easier for the guest. And we decided not to add too many gimmicks or gimmicky technology. We wanted to put technology that really lasts. And for example, the bed never goes out of date. It's electronic, it gives a massage feature, but it's, 7 years later, people still really enjoy it. So it's really selecting the right technology for your guests. Yeah, so I think there's different ways of using technology. So one of our challenges for us is that we're in a city centre, a hotel. The big challenge for us is space. London is expensive. So we wanted to reinvent the city centre room. So for example, we decided to use smart glass, which is a glass that we have in between the bathroom and the bedroom. And it goes from transparent to opaque at the touch of a button. But again, it helps to enhance the space, make it brighter. So that's one of the decisions that we made, that we felt that this technology would really help with the design of the hotel. The handy phones we felt was just the right choice. Again, also we now use the handy phone so the guests can make all their requests through the phone, so they can order room service, get the delivery room if they want. So it's just handy. That's why it's called handy phones. So yeah, it's just selecting the right technology, because you can go all out, but sometimes you have to kind of mainstream and make it manageable for the team as well to manage, because technology is great when it works, but when it doesn't work, it causes a headache. Well, I think it's also choosing technology that's feasible for you. So there's a lot of technology that you as a guest can see when you're checking in and staying in the hotel, but there's also a lot of technologies behind the scene. So for example, there's a system called property management system, which every hotel has, and it's the heart of the hotel. It holds all your reservations, all your guest information, and it communicates with other technologies in the hotel. So if your property management system is not able to connect, then you can't use certain technologies. So we actually made this very big decision a couple months ago of changing our property management system. So it's like taking the heart out of the hotel and transplanting a new heart, which was quite disruptive for a few weeks. But then now we can see that we have so many partners we can work with. I'm really keen to work with startups. So for example, we're just starting working with a company called Humanize, and they do a chatbot, an AI chatbot. So we feed them a lot of information, and our guests can communicate with the chatbot. And it actually is great for the guests because they get an answer straight away. And for us, we get many less emails than we used to, so we can concentrate more on guest services than being behind our computers responding emails. Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I think things have changed a lot, and before, hotels were what people aspired. For example, the first lift was in a hotel. We were very forward thinking. And I feel like nowadays things have gone the other way around. And I think people's homes nowadays are so high tech, and guest expectations are pretty high. And I feel like if hotels don't respond to that, if guests can have certain technologies at home but they don't find it in a hotel, it could be a bit annoying for them, and I think it's a competitive advantage nowadays. If you can offer certain tech like the smart TVs, I believe is a huge competitive advantage compared to another hotel.
So that was a bit of Philip's experience was it in Europe?
Yes, it was in the UK, actually,
Okay.
central London. And for me, I mean, and as we heard there, talking about all the pointers that I talked about, one of the things that often comes up is, the traditional versus the modern.
Yeah.
Like, where do you draw the line, And as we heard there, like, you have to think more about the guests and the guest's life, the average day in the guest's life. What technologies do the guests typically interact with? And not go overboard, because people come to a hotel for a reason, and you need to stick to that reason. But then you also want to give them a certain kind of experience. And it's very important to walk a very fine line when you're dealing with new technology. And I just like the fact that they blend it very well in terms of how they approach it. But they're also open to new forms of interaction. So she talks, for example, about chatbots and the introduction of chatbots into the whole hotel, the running of the hotel. And she talks about how important it is because people can now, instead of like calling so much into the hotel or sending so many emails, complaining on one thing or the other, you can just basically log on and chat with someone. It gives them the opportunity to concentrate on other things having to do with the running of the hotel. And it's just because technology has gotten to a point where if you do not open yourself up to it and figure out which part of the tech you need to build your business, you really are going to be left behind. You shouldn't necessarily take everything, you know, whole without, you know, sieving and figuring out what best works for you. But I think at least giving yourself an opportunity to see what's out there is also very, very, very important, you know. And like I said, I really still do not understand why some institutions, hotels and, you know, places like that still don't accept Visa, still don't accept mobile money as forms of payment. You know, like you go to their websites, you can't sometimes even book a room on the website. It really takes a lot away from the experience because people are accessing your services through all sorts of means. And if you're going to be represented in all these or on all these platforms, you have to understand that there is a lot of work that needs to go into it. But then eventually, once you get that system in place, it makes your life easier and it gives you the chance to concentrate on what really matters, which is providing service to the people.
So how was your experience in general as a guest there? What were some things that stood out for you?
For me, I think the fact that, you know, everything is so intuitive.
Okay.
You know, and you think about doing something and the technology is available, it's there for you to use and experience. So for example, the handy phone, for example, that is provided in every room. If you wanted to call another room, it's really simple, just hash the room number and you can call that room number. The person can be in another part of the city, but you still can be able to call the person. And the fact that they make such phones even available in the room for you is pretty cool, you know. And I just felt that the fact that they make technology so intuitive and you don't have to think too much about what exactly this technology does. So I think one of the videos in the very end there, we saw a video of the bathroom with a TV screen in the glass or in the mirror, for example, which is pretty cool. You're in a bathroom, you wake up, you are doing whatever in the bathroom and you can still stay connected with the content that you're watching in the hall, for example. And you know, everything it's intuitive. You don't need to think too much about it. It's just a natural part of your day. And I think that's where the magic is. And if, you know, any companies out there, especially within the hospitality industry, start looking out for things that you can easily incorporate in your business, which are technology focused, which will make the life of your guests much easier. Because then when their life is easier, your life is easier. And quite frankly, machines do take away a lot of the stress as well. And once some of these things are automated, it just increases the experience or makes it better, the experience of the guest.
Yeah, so you said something at the beginning about technology potentially taking away jobs.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on it? Because as I'm watching the video, I don't see, these are things I would have done myself as a guest. So I don't see how it's going to take away jobs. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I mean, when you talk about, for example, the concierge, when you talk about the people who are giving out the rooms and you know, providing all those services, like typically you would have a much larger number manning all these things. But then if you're sitting at home and you book a room and you get there and there's only one person, you show your card or you show your confirmation and they scan it and that's it. That's 2 people or 3 people who basically don't have a job, you know. And so
even the phone, you would have to go get the phone, sign it and
things like that, and someone needs to be manning it and things like that. But I mean, with the technology available, most of these people will not necessarily have a job. Now, what's also important is those people who occupy those jobs must then decide to up their game, must then decide to get more skills to be able to stay employed. Now, what that also means is that once they get those skills, they're able to man the systems properly, and then you as the customer end up benefiting because the service that you are provided are more or less curated for you, is more well thought out, and for you as the manager as well, it makes life much easier because everything runs a little more smoothly. So, in a certain sense, it's kind of scary, you know, when you know, people talk about augmented reality and virtual reality. So, for example, at a point you were talking about how guests will now be able to experience the hotel without necessarily visiting it, so they can choose the room, see what the room looks like, even before they come in there by aid of virtual reality. And all these things are made possible. Initially, there will be a tour guide doing those things, but then now the tour guide is not there. So, you know, it's scary as a thought, you know, but it also offers you an opportunity to see what the future looks like.
Thank you very much, Philip Ashon, host of Citi Trends, and of course, head of production here at Citi TV. And thank you at home for joining us. Breakfast Daily continues. Do not go anywhere.